You saw the thumbnail: a lost empire, a shattered crown, a mystery no textbook dared explain. So, before we dive in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Now, dim the lights, maybe. Turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's slip into tonight's journey together. You walk slowly under the moonlight, the air thick with the damp scent of moss and old stone. The jungle around you is alive, cicada's kiss. Leaves shiver though no wind passes, and somewhere in the canopy, an owl calls out once, then falls silent. Your flashlight grazes a weathered stone face, half swallowed by vines. A magic god, lips pressed tight in warning or secrecy. You are not sure which. You kneel, brush away the leaves, and feel the cool, pitted surface beneath your fingertips. Above, the stars pass faintly through the tree gaps, the same constellations the Maya watched over 1,000 years ago. They built cities aligned to those stars, mapped eclipses, charted Venuses rise and fall. It's hard not to feel small here, hard not to wonder, why did they leave? As you step forward, the underbrush crackles softly beneath your boots. A bat swoops past, nearly grazing your shoulder. You chuckle, half to calm yourself, half because honestly, if this were a horror movie, you'd already be the first one gone. But this isn't horror. This is history. And history's scariest truths aren't ghosts, they're collapses, failures, endings no one saw coming. The trail opens up. Before you rises a crumbling stone pyramid. Its steps once smoothed by centuries of rain. You imagine the footfalls once here, priests in feathered cloaks, children racing, merchants hauling cacao beans and obsidian blades. A gust stirs the canopy, and for a moment, you swear you hear voices, prayers, commands, laughter. Of course, it's just the wind, probably, but still, you pause. Because in places like this, the past doesn't just sit quietly. It leans in close. What historians agree on is this: by the time Spanish explorers stumbled upon the outer edges of the Maya world in the 16th century, the great cities like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque were long abandoned, swallowed by forest. What historians debate, however, is why. Droughts? Yes. Civil wars? Likely. Trade collapse? Maybe. But some suggest something more subtle: a society stretched too thin, too rigid, too dependent on fragile systems, until snap. As you walk toward the pyramid, you notice carvings near the base. A ruler, seated, flanked by prisoners bound at the wrist. Power on display. But look closer, and the cracks tell another story: erosion, decay, a system cracking long before the final fall. The flashlight flickers. You tap it, mumbling something about needing better batteries. And for a second, you think, if the Maya elite had noticed their own flickering lights, would they have changed course? You step back, tilt your head, and take in the pyramid's silhouette against the stars. And in that quiet, the jungle whispers, "Keep going." You walk forward, your fingers grazing the cool surface of a carved wall. It's almost like Braille, but instead of letters, it's history. Spirals, jaguars, gods with open mouths, rulers wearing towering headdresses. Above you, the jungle. Canopy parts just enough to reveal the night sky, a scattered map of stars. The Maya didn't just look at these stars for beauty. They built cities to mirror them. Every plaza, every temple, aligned to celestial movements. You pause, tilting your head back. Venus. They called it Chaki K. To the Maya, Venus was no ordinary point of light. It was the harbinger of war, a sign of fate shifting. Imagine planning your battles by the glint of a planet. Imagine waiting for its rise to declare conquest. Soft laughter escapes you. Imagine doing office meetings that way. You think, "Sorry, boss, can't do Monday. Mars isn't aligned." You step through a crumbled archway. The ground crunches beneath your boots. Crushed pottery, stone chips, a bead of jade. Once, this place was full of noise, marketplaces bursting with cacao traders, scribes hunched over codices, children darting between stone pillars. Now, silence, except for the whisper of wind through the trees. You stop at an open plaza. The moonlight spills across the stone, revealing a massive astronomical marker, a stele, carved with dates, rulers, and yes, celestial events. Historians still debate how precise these measurements were. Some argue the Maya calculated eclipses with shocking accuracy. Others say later interpretations exaggerate their skill. But no one doubts their obsession with the stars. What's less known? Many of these alignments weren't just about science. They were political. You see, a ruler who claimed to command the heavens also claimed to command the people. When kings, predicted eclipses or tied royal births to cosmic events. They weren't just making calendars, they were making power. You crouch, tracing your finger over a date glyph. 9.12.2.0.16 around 670 for a D. You imagine the ceremony here. Drums pounding, incense thick in the air, a priestess lifting her arms to the heavens as crowds cheered. Above it all, the rulers watched, basking in reflected glory, part monarch, part stargazer, part god. A cold breeze brushes your neck, and you shiver slightly, not from cold, but from the weight of time. In the distance, you hear the faint screech of a howler monkey, its call deep, guttural, almost human in its rage. You smile wryly. Guess someone else is angry about deadlines, you think, standing. You take one last look around. This city, once a jewel of stone and stars, now crumbles quietly beneath a canopy that stretches forever, and yet the stars still shine. You walk deeper into the ruins, your flashlight sweeping across crumbled walls and empty courtyards. Here, the jungle is thinner, vines pull back just enough to reveal long-forgotten carvings. You pause before one. A ruler sits on a throne, towering above smaller figures. His headdress blooms upward like a stone flame, his face frozen in a regal, unreadable calm. Below, commoners bow, their backs arched in submission. The Maya world was not an equal one. Power flowed from the top lords, priests, elite families, and trickled down through artisans, farmers, laborers. Historians still debate just how harsh these divisions were. Some see evidence of cooperative city-states, others of ruthless exploitation. You trace the outline of a maize god etched nearby. Corn wasn't just food here, it was life, creation, divinity. The people worked the fields, the elite claimed the harvest, and the gods got their share through rituals, bloodletting, sacrifice, offerings cast into synods. A faint breeze carries the earthy scent of wet soil and old stone. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you hear it, the clatter of market stalls, the shuffle of feet over limestone, the low murmur of a crowd gathering for ceremony. In the palace, scribes bent over bark paper codices, recording tribute and omens. Outside, farmers scan the sky for rain clouds, knowing a single bad season meant hunger. Two worlds, side by side, one gilded, one fragile. You smile softly, thinking, imagine trying to explain modern tax returns to them. Then again, maybe they'd understand perfectly after all. Tribute is tribute. You step into a narrow hallway, the ceiling low, walls etched with stories of dynasties. Here, a warrior raises a spear. There, a queen performs a ritual with a stingray spine, drawing blood to please the gods. The Maya elite weren't passive rulers, they bled for their power, quite literally. Outside, moonlight touches the edge of a ball court. You walk toward it, the faintest echo of shouts and cheers playing tricks on your ears. The ball game wasn't just sport, it was ceremony, politics, sometimes even sacrifice. Victory could mean honor, but defeat, well, that part is still debated. You stand still, breathing in the thick night air, heart beating in rhythm with a place that once pulsed with life. The lords and the people, two halves of a world now swallowed by leaves. You step into what was once a temple courtyard. The stones underfoot are warm from the day's sun, still radiating a faint heat even in the cool of night. Around you, massive pillars rise, each carved with gods in motion. Serpentine it is, coiling toward the sky. Jaguar spirits leaping from one world to the next. Skeletal figures grinning from under elaborate headdresses. The Maya lived in a world layered with gods. Not just one god, but dozens, each ruling over rain, maize, death, creation, time, and even chaos. To live, you didn't just plant and harvest. You negotiated with unseen forces. You kneel at the base of a stela, fingers brushing the faint grooves of a scene, a priest drawing blood from his tongue, offering it to the gods. Historians still debate how widespread these rituals were. Were they daily acts, personal and small, or public spectacles, staged for political power? The air here is heavy, scented with damp earth and the faint musk of guano. Somewhere overhead, you hear the flap of wings, bats leaving the temple rafters, seeking the night. You smile faintly. I wonder if they were considered sacred back then, you think, or just annoying like now. At the temple's center, you find an altar stone, smooth from centuries of ritual. You imagine it surrounded by candles. They are thick with copal, incense, faces lit by flickering flame as priests chanted to summon rain or appease the underworld. But not everything here was grim. The Maya didn't just fear their gods, they celebrated them. Festivals overflowed with dance, music, food, and drink. Masks flashed in torchlight, drums echoed into the night, and for a time, the human and divine danced side by side. You run your hand over a wall mural, nearly erased by time dancers mid-leap, faces joyful, costumes swirling. A reminder, even in a world of sacrifice, there was joy. You step back, gazing up at the temple's roof comb, now cracked and vine-covered, and you wonder, was it the god's silence, or the human's noise, that finally broke this world? The night wind rises, stirring your hair, whispering through the hollow holes, and in that sound, you hear both pray and plea. You step away from the temple, following a faint path that winds down into the lowlands. Here, the forest parts, opening onto what once were vast fields. The earth is cracked, dry beneath your boots. But if you close your eyes, you can almost hear it, the rustle of maize. Row upon row of golden stalks swaying in the breeze. Maize wasn't just a crop for the Maya, it was life itself. They told stories of how the gods shaped humans from maize dough, how every meal was a small reenactment of creation. To plant, harvest, and eat was to renew the world, but maize needs water. And water, in the late classic period, began to fail. You crouch, picking up a handful of dust, letting it fall through your fingers. Historians still debate the precise role of climate in the Maya collapse, but evidence points to decades-long drought, dry seasons stretching longer, rains arriving late or not at all. You look up, imagining the farmers who once stood here. They would have watched the skies, prayed to Chark, the rain god, offered him sacrifices of jade, shell, even blood, anything to coax clouds from the empty blue. A soft laugh escapes you. If only they'd had weather apps, you murmur. But the truth presses heavier than any joke. When the rains failed, the people suffered first. You walk farther, past the outlines of old irrigation canals, now choked with roots. These weren't simple farmers, they engineered terraces, reservoirs, entire waterworks to feed their cities. But even the best engineering can't fight a multi-decade drought. Near the edge of the field, you spot a cenote, a sinkhole, sacred and feared. The Maya saw cenotes as gateways to the underworld, places where offerings were cast to reach the gods. You peer over the edge. The water below glimmers faintly. Black and deep, you whisper to the dark. Did you hear their last prayers? The wind picks up, rustling the trees, carrying the faint scent of earth and water, memory and loss. You stand, brushing the dust from your hands, and walk on through fields where hunger once crept, quiet and relentless. You walk along a raised causeway, or SACBU, the white road. Under your feet, limestone once gleamed in the sun, connecting city to city like arteries through a living body. Many imagine the Maya as isolated villages. But the truth is grander. They built a network vast, intricate, alive. Cities like Tikal, Calakul, Kupen, and Palenque weren't lone jewels. They were stars in a political and trade constellation. You pause, picturing merchants on this very path. Cacao beans jingling in woven bags, obsidian blades wrapped for trade, jaguar pelts folded in bundles. Messengers raced between kingdoms, carrying carved wooden glyphs, the tweets of their time. You think amused. Historians still debate the depth of this network. Was it a unified empire, or a patchwork of fiercely independent city-states, bound by war and alliance? Either way, the roads tied them together, stitching lives across hundreds of miles. You brush aside a branch and step into the plaza of what was once a medium-sized city, its name long lost. Here, a bourgeois sprawls beside a royal palace. Temples shadow the edges, not massive like Tikal, not minor either, part of the silent web. Overhead, the jungle presses in, but you sense the old pulse beneath. This was a world of competition, cities vying for dominance, rulers forging and breaking alliances, emissaries walking these roads with gifts or ultimatums. You imagine a scene, a royal wedding uniting to dynasties, dancers swirling, trumpets blaring, or perhaps a war party gathering at dawn, obsidian blades gleaming, Venus rising sharp in the morning sky. Suddenly, a bird bursts from a nearby tree, and you flinch, laughing softly. Okay, no more dramatic reenactments, nature, as you wander. You spot the faint outline of storage pits. Trade wasn't just luxury. Salt, dry fish, honey, textiles, survival depended on movement, connection. And when drought came, when wars erupted, these connections frayed. You run your hand over a crumbled wall. It's mortar crumbling under your touch. And feel it. Not just the fall of cities, but the fall of a network. A system too complex, too interwoven. Undone thread by thread dot in the stillness. The white road gleams faintly in your flashlight beam, a ghost road, leading forward. You follow the white road deeper into the jungle, where it splinters and fades. The trees heeling closer, their roots coiling over broken stones like claws. You pass a toppled stela. Once it stood tall, displaying the victories of a king. Now it lies shattered, as if even the earth had turned against its story. The Maya cities weren't just undone by drought or trade collapse. Historians still debate the role of internal conflict, rebellions, palace coups, civil wars that bled the cities from the inside out. You pause before a mural, faint but legible in your flashlight's glow. Warriors clash with jaguars emblazoned on their shields. In another scene, commoners rise up, torches in hand. This isn't foreign invasion, this is neighbor against neighbor, lord against vassal. You close your eyes. Imagine the tension. Farmers starving as fields dry. Rulers demanding tribute anyway. Priests calling for more sacrifices. The weight builds year by year, until crack, a soft laugh escapes you. History's oldest pattern. When the top squeezes too hard, the bottom pushes back. You walk through what was once a royal courtyard. Here, a king may have knelt, pleading for loyalty. Here, nobles whispered betrayal over shared drinks. Here, perhaps, rebels stormed the palace under cover of night. It's easy to romanticize collapse, to imagine sudden, cinematic moments. But more often, it's a long, bitter unraveling. Loyalty's thin. Trust dissolves. What once bound cities together becomes the thread that snaps above you. A howler monkey roars, the sound guttural, almost human. You shiver, half laughing. All right. I get it, not alone here. In the distance, you glimpse another pyramid. Smaller, buried under centuries of earth and vine. A local shrine, perhaps once guarded, now forgotten. You kneel, brush dirt from a glyph. It's faint, but you trace it carefully. Not a king, not a god, but a corn farmer, offering a handful of maize. And you wonder, when the palaces fell, did they cheer? Or did they mourn? The jungle sways, whispering both rebellion and regret. You step carefully now, the ground uneven beneath your feet. Stones once shaped into walls, steps, and courtyards now lie scattered, half buried under soil and roots. It's as if the earth itself has been trying, for centuries, to pull this place back into its skin. This wasn't a Pompeii. No firestorm, no instant destruction. The collapse of the great Maya cities was slow, silent, almost invisible if you were living through it. You pause beside a palace ruin. You can almost see them, scribes still scribbling, merchants still weighing cacao beans, priests still whispering prayers. And yet, just beyond the walls, fields lay fallow, reservoirs emptied, alliances soured. Historians still debate how fast it all happened. Some estimate decades, others just a generation or two. But they agree on this: when the cities fell, they weren't burned down or conquered. They were walked away from. You crouch by an abandoned household, the remnants of pottery shards at your feet. You imagine a family here, a weaver, maybe, her loom once set against the wall. Where did they go? Did they know they were part of a collapse? Or did they just move, hoping things would be better somewhere else? You glance up at the jungle. Canopy. Above, birds call their songs ancient, uncaring. You let out a soft laugh. They were probably here before the cities, and they'll be here after us too. As you walk, you notice something odd. No signs of mass graves, no burn layers, no obvious battle scars. Instead, a gradual thinning, fewer elite burials, less monumental building, less craft production. A slow fade. You reach a hill, looking down over the ruined city. The temples rise like broken teeth through the trees. You imagine it as it was. Plazas alive with festival, children laughing, trumpets and drums echoing across the stone. And then emptiness. Not overnight, just less and less. Year after year, you close your eyes, feeling the weight of it, not the drama of collapse, but its quietness. That's the part no movie ever captures. A wind brushes past you, cool and thin, carrying the faintest scent of rain. For a moment, it feels like the jungle itself is exhaling, as if to say, they're gone. But you're here. Keep walking. You move carefully through the undergrowth, the crunch of old leaves soft underfoot. Vines curl over toppled walls, flowers bloom where once were council halls, and tree roots bunch through palace floors like slow, green fists. This is no accident. The Maya collapse gave the jungle space, and the jungle didn't hesitate. You pause, resting a hand on a thick cyber tree. To the Maya, this wasn't just any tree. It was sacred, a world tree, connecting earth, sky, and underworld. Now, it anchors itself in the heart of a city, its roots feeding on limestone and legend alike. You glance up. Parrots flash red and green overhead, monkeys chatter in the distance. It's beautiful, it's wild, and it's relentless. Historians still debate how fast the jungle reclaimed these spaces. Some say within decades, temples were already buried under green. Others suggest local populations kept visiting, even living nearby, long after the cities fell. But all agree, nature didn't wait. You walk through what was once a market square, now a tangle of vines and orchids. Imagine the stalls here thought honey, cacao, cloth. Imagine the voices, the laughter, the haggling. Now listen. The only sound is wind through leaves, the occasional crack of a falling branch. A soft smile tugs at your lips. Post-apocalyptic, but make it botanical. You murmur, farther ahead. A temple peak rises above the trees, its stones hidden under a skin of moss. It's strange, isn't it? The jungle both destroys and preserves, tearing buildings apart, yet protecting them from rain, sun, and time. You brush your fingers over a glyph half swallowed by ivy. It's damp, cool, alive. And you wonder, did they know? Did the last people here look back and imagine their homes swallowed by green? The path twists upward. You climb slowly, heart beating, breath soft. At the top, you turn and the view opens. Endless forest, rolling like an ocean. Treetops glowing silver under the moon. Somewhere out there, other ruins sleep, wrapped in roots and shadow. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you're not sure where the city ends and the jungle begins. You sit on the worn steps of a temple, palms pressed to cool stone. The moonlight paints everything silver, softening sharp edges, turning ruins into ghosts. You close your eyes and listen, not just with your ears, with your skin, your breath, your bones. There's a hush here, but it's not empty. It's full of footsteps long gone, laughter that still clings to the air, voices that refuse to disappear. Historians still debate how much of Maya oral tradition survives today. Some stories, some names, some places live on reshaped, retold, reclaimed. Others are lost, buried deeper than any stone. You trail your fingers over a carved panel beside you. Two figures face each other, hands raised, a king perhaps, and a priest. Their faces are stylized, almost unreadable, but there's a tension in their stance. A moment frozen, you wonder what they were saying. Above, a night bird calls, sharp and sudden. You jump, then laugh softly at yourself. Okay, you murmur. Still jumpy, you stand and wander through the plaza. Each step taps a hollow note on the flagstones. Once, these stones carried the weight of dancers, priests, warriors, queens. Now, they hold only memory. You pause before a low platform. Its edges once smooth. Offerings were left here: maize, jade, obsidian, blood. Not because the gods demanded it, you think, but because people needed to give it. To anchor themselves, to speak into the silence, you kneel, pressing your palm flat against the stone. It's cold, but not lifeless. And in that moment, you understand, the past doesn't disappear. It echoes somewhere. A breeze stirs the leaves. A soft rustle, a faint whisper. You smile, eyes closing. Okay, you think. I hear you, and for a heartbeat, you're not alone. You leave the heart of the ruined city, following a narrow path winding into the hills. The air changes here, thinner, cooler, touched with the scent of pine. Somewhere below, a river murmurs through the dark, the same river that fed these cities long ago. Not everyone vanished when the great cities fell. The Maya people didn't disappear. They moved, adapted, endured. Historians still debate how much continuity survived from the classic to post-classic periods, but one truth remains: Maya descendants are still here today, speaking languages shaped by centuries, planting maize, telling stories, lighting candles before the old gods and the new. You pause at a small stone shrine by the path, weathered, simple, almost invisible under moss. Someone has left fresh flowers here. A candle stub, burned low. You smile softly. The past didn't vanish, you whisper. It just changed clothes. You keep walking, past terraces carved into the hillsides. You imagine families farming here, even as the cities emptied. Maybe they watched the collapse from afar. Maybe they stayed deliberately small, deliberately quiet. Survival, you think, sometimes means letting go. A soft joke slips into your thoughts. History books love a good fall, but they rarely write about who got back up. You reach a rocky outcrop and look out. The forest rolls away beneath you, dark and endless. Somewhere, under all that green, more cities sleep. But somewhere, in villages far from here, a grandmother teaches her granddaughter to weave. A farmer whispers thanks before planting. A healer murmurs prayers older than the conquistadors. You feel a small weight settle in your chest, not sadness, not joy, but a kind of awe. The kind you get when you realize a story isn't over. A breeze brushes past, cool and light, and you close your eyes. For a moment, you imagine the whisper of voices past and present braided together, and you keep walking, 1 foot on stone, 1 foot in memory. You descend from the hills, your path cutting through tangled brush. Ahead, stone rises where it shouldn't, temple steps, half swallowed by roots, walls leaning like tired giants. But it's not just the jungle that found these places. Humans came back centuries later, hungry for discovery. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, explorers, archaeologists, treasure hunters, they all stumbled upon the Maya world. Some were dreamers, sketching ruins by lantern light. Others were looters, chiseling jade and gold from tombs, selling history piece by piece. You pause near a stone carved with names, not Maya glyphs but Victorian script. A traveler scratched his name here, 1882, as if to say I was here. Never mind the 1,000 years before him. You run your fingers over the letters, shaking your head with a soft laugh. Humans, always needing to leave a mark. Historians still debate the legacy of early archaeology. Some argue it saved these sites from oblivion. Others point to the damaged monuments dynamited, artifacts scattered in museums, sacred sites stripped of meaning. You move through an old excavation trench, its sides lined with crumbling earth. You picture the teams here, men in pith helmets, local workers hauling stones, notebooks filled with sketches and guesses. And above it all, the jungle waited, patient, knowing it would reclaim everything. You find an abandoned field tent, torn and sagging, its canvas faded to pale bone. Inside, a rusted lantern and a few old papers stir in the breeze. A strange feeling prickles your neck, the sense that you are walking through layers. The ancient, the colonial, the modern, all pressed together like sediment. You stand, looking out over the plaza. Tourists will come here someday. Selfies with crumbling temples, drone shots over sacred ball courts. And part of you wonders, is that rediscovery? Or is it just another form of forgetting? The wind stirs, cool and restless, and you whisper softly, who remembers the ones who first remembered? You sit on the edge of a low wall, feet dangling into soft grass, and let the night settle around you. Stars prick the sky, silent and cold. Somewhere far away, an owl calls a soft, mournful sound that seems to echo from another age, the Maya. Collapse has haunted historians, economists, and environmentalists alike. How does a civilization so brilliant, so adaptive, stumble and fall? Historians still debate the balance of causes: drought, warfare, political overreach, environmental strain. But one thread winds through them all: complexity. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past settle on your shoulders. Maybe it wasn't one disaster, but many, stacked together. Maybe it wasn't villains or fools, but leaders making hard choices in harder times. Maybe it wasn't even collapse, just transformation. Too slow to see, too fast to stop. You smile faintly, thinking, sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? A soft breeze lifts the edge of your jacket. You glance around, imagining what warnings the Maya left carved in stone, in story, in silence. Balance with nature, respect for limits, humility before the unknown. And yet even they couldn't hold back time. You rise, brushing dirt from your hands. There's a kind of comfort here, paradoxical as it is. Civilizations rise and fall, but people keep going. They remember, rebuild, reimagine. Not always the same, never perfect, but always there. You chuckle softly, whispering to the night. Note to future archaeologists, check under the Wi-Fi towers. The stars will overhead, patient and bright, watching as they always have. And you stand, ready to walk on one more figure moving through the long echo of history. You follow a narrow trail now, stones crunching softly beneath your boots. The night deepens, sky spilling stars like cold silver, and every breath you take feels thick with memory around you. The ruins stand quiet, temples leaning, walls crumbling, stairways choked with roots. And yet, they endure. Not forever, maybe, but longer than you. longer than the empires that rose after, longer than the names we remember. You rest your hand on a stone smoothed by wind, rain, and centuries of touch. Time is heavy here, you think, but not dead, alive, shifting, always moving. Historians still debate how the Maya themselves thought about time. For them, it wasn't just a line from past to future. It was a wheel, a cycle. Days wrapped into months, into backtons, into ages. To live was to stand at the turning, caught between what was and what will be. You close your eyes, feeling at the pull of centuries, the whisper of old calendars, the press of lives laid over lives. A soft laugh slips from you. And here I am, you murmur. Just one more dot on the dial. You wander through the plaza, the moon casting faint shadows. You trace the outlines of glyphs, kings and gods, battles and births, eclipses and endings. So much carved to hold time still, so much surrendered anyway. You pause, tilting your head to the sky. How many looked up here once? How many counted the stars, feared the dark, prayed for dawn? Your footsteps slow, breath soft. And in that hush, you feel it, not the weight of ruin, the weight of continuance, because time moves. It carries us all, kings, farmers, wanderers, into memory, into story, into dust, and maybe, if we're lucky, into the soft hands of someone who will remember. You walk slowly now, each step light, as if afraid to disturb the hush settling over the ruins. The jungle breathes around you, soft rustles, faint creaks, the quiet thrum of life continuing. The path narrows, leading to a small rise where you can see the city spread beneath you. The temples, the plazas, the ball courts, all softened by time, draped in vines, kissed by moonlight. It is beautiful. It is broken. It is both. You sit, pulling your knees to your chest, wrapping your arms around yourself, not from cold, but from something else, something heavier. A kind of awe. Historians still debate what final thoughts crossed the minds of those who left these places. Did they grieve or simply adapt? Did they look back or only forward? You smile softly, thinking, maybe we all live somewhere between endings and echoes. The night deepens, stars scattering like powdered sugar across black velvet. The air hums, cool and steady, and you find yourself breathing slower, heart easing into its rhythm. You let your fingers brush the earth, cool, rough, grounding. For all the rise and fall, all the glory and loss, here is the truth. People were here. People are here. And people will be here, long after. You close your eyes, whispering, remember me as I remember you. The jungle sways. A bird calls softly in the dark. A faint breeze runs through your hair, gentle as a farewell. You lean back, sinking into the earth, feeling your body grow heavy, your breath slow, your thoughts soften, and as the ruins breathe, around you a stone, root, memory, and sky fold together. You let go. End of script. Sweet dreams.